Welcome to this explainer on Robert Louis Stevenson's 1883 classic, Treasure Island. Over the next 4 minutes or so, we are going to completely unpack how this one thrilling adventure basically single-handedly invented our modern concept of pirates. We'll be breaking down its history, its iconic characters, and some timeless lessons along the way.
Okay, let's jump right in with something you definitely know. 15 men on the dead man's chest. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. Now, that sounds like an ancient, authentic sea shanty, right? Well, it actually isn't. Stevenson penned that straight out of his own imagination, specifically to set the mood for this novel. Part 1, The Blueprint of Piracy. Inventing the pirate mythos. Now, you might think your idea of pirates comes from actual world history, but nearly every cliché we have today actually stems right from this narrative. Seriously, think about it. Treasure maps with a big red X, one-legged pirates, squawking, talking parrots on the shoulder, buried treasure, the frantic hunt for pieces of eight. Countless books, movies, and games have drawn their inspiration directly from Stevenson's mind. It's actually wild to realize how completely this one book transformed pirate fiction for good. Part 2, Mutiny on the Hispaniola. History meets high seas fiction. So while the story itself is entirely fictional, reportedly inspired by a literal map Stevenson drew for his stepson on a rainy holiday, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. To put things in perspective, the real golden age of piracy ran roughly from 1650 to 1730. That was the era of genuinely terrifying guys like Blackbeard and Captain Kidd. Over a century later, in 1883, Treasure Island hits the shelves. What Stevenson did was take those authentic, century-old historical tales of hidden loot and weave them into a completely thrilling, fictional universe. And the plot just rockets forward. We follow young Jim Hawkins, who stumbles onto a dead sailor's mysterious map, leading right to Captain Flint's legendary treasure. He takes it to some local gentlemen who eagerly fund an expedition aboard a ship called the Hispaniola. But plot twist, mid-voyage, a secret pirate mutiny is uncovered among their hired crew. What follows is a full-blown dangerous battle for survival, full of betrayals and shifting alliances on a remote tropical island. Part 3, Complex Villains and Heroes. The Muddy Waters of Morality. Unlike your standard simple children's fairy tale, the true brilliance here lies in the incredibly complex characters. Just look at the stark contrast between our two leads. You've got Jim Hawkins, curious, brave, honest, who is basically forced to grow up and learn maturity through extreme hardship. On the flip side is Long John Silver. He is far from a one-dimensional villain. He's incredibly charismatic, deeply manipulative, utterly ruthless, yet surprisingly caring toward Jim. It's this exact moral gray area that makes him, arguably, literature's greatest pirate. Part 4, Unearthing the True Treasure. The thematic depths and our final verdict. Beyond all the gun smoke and gold, we have to ask, what timeless lessons is this 19th century story still teaching us today? Well, the text leaves us with a pretty stark moral reality. First off, greed is a wildly destructive temptation. It ruins friendships and causes violence way before it makes anybody rich. Second, and maybe more importantly, true courage requires action despite fear. Jim faces some absolutely terrifying situations, teaching us that bravery isn't about being fearless, it's having the guts to take action anyway. So, evaluating the whole shebang, it easily earns a massive 9.8 out of 10. The rich, realistic tension, perfect characters, and amazing pacing completely overshadow any minor hurdles like some old-fashioned nautical slang. It's an incredibly small price to pay for such a monumental piece of storytelling. So, I'm gonna leave you with this final thought. Would you risk everything for Captain Flint's legendary treasure? Knowing that trust must be earned so carefully, and knowing that greed can completely destroy a person, if you found that old map marked with a red X, would you have the courage to set sail? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope it gave you a brand new appreciation for the ultimate blueprint of the modern pirate.